It's day 189, the resistance of those breaking the agreement. The problems between the Muslims and the Jews were growing daily. After seeing that the Jews were not obeying the terms of the constitution and the agreement signed between them, the Prophet called their leader to him. He was a prophet of love and peace. He didn't want to shed blood or cause lives to be lost. He wanted all human beings, all of mankind, to live with goodness and kindness in a world filled with peace and prosperity. So he used to treat everyone with kindness. This time he did the same. He invited the Jews to come to a meeting. First, he greeted them kindly and then gave them limitless good news. Later, he invited them once more to join the religion of Islam. He asked them to give up the bad things they were doing. He warned them that otherwise the problems between them would grow. He reminded them about the pain and suffering the pagans went through in Badr. He asked them to take a lesson from what had happened to them. But the Jews adopted a bold and shameless attitude. They did not want to understand the Prophet. They laughed sarcastically at the advice he gave them and the beautiful things he told them. They said, "We are not afraid of fighting against you." Their arrogance and stubborn behavior injured and offended the Prophet very much. They were making a great mistake by rejecting honesty and goodness in the face of his invitation. Despite the good intentions of the Prophet showed to the Jews, it was clear that they were not going to give up the evil things that they were doing. After they left the meeting place, an order came to the Prophet, an order from Allah, the Most High. He in turn made his decisions according to this order. He was going to march against the Jews of Medina. The Jews had closed all the doors to an agreement between them and the Muslims. They had left no other way for the Prophet. The following day, preparations started. The Prophet gave his white banner to Hamza, and with a group of companions, he marched against the Jews of Medina. It was time to teach these ill-intentioned people a lesson for not following the conditions of the peace agreement they had signed. When the Jews heard that the Prophet was marching with his army, they ran back and locked themselves up behind the fortified walls surrounding their district of Medina. The Prophet laid siege to the fortress with his army. Siege in a war meant placing soldiers in a circle around the city or castle. The siege of their area lasted for 5 days. In the end, the Jews couldn't find any other way to solve their problems than to surrender to the Muslim army. The Prophet did not trust them. They had betrayed him by not keeping their promise. Their secret friend Abdullah was there too. Coming to the Prophet, he started begging him. "Please, please," he said, "show these friends of mine goodness, kindness, and give them freedom." The Prophet kept silent. Abdullah ibn Ubay again started begging, "Oh Muhammad, show kindness to my friends." The Prophet turned his back, but Abdullah kept insisting. While pleading in many different ways, he kept circling around the Prophet. The Prophet would not in any case have wanted the people who had surrendered to be killed. This was not something that he would do. But if the Jews remained living in Medina, they would again continue to display bad manners and would often spoil the peace of mind of the Muslims. During a war, they might even cooperate with the enemy. Now, the Prophet was thinking of these possibilities and he was looking for a solution. Finally, he decided to expel them from Medina. He asked them to leave the city as soon as possible and migrate to Damascus. The Jews were very happy that their lives had been spared and they would not be killed. They left the city in a great hurry. In this way, the Muslims were relieved of the troubles created by the Jews.